Bank Negara Malaysia said in its Financial Stability Review report that the result of a stress test reaffirmed the resilience of lenders in the country even under severe simulated shocks. It said the aggregate capital ratios of the banking system will remain comfortably above the regulatory minima. According to the report, more than 80% of banks in Malaysia would be able to maintain capital ratios above their internal capital targets, although 24 out of 54 banks with a cumulative share of 25% of total banking system assets would report losses in at least 1 year throughout the 3-year stress horizon. However, the central bank noted that under these adverse scenarios, 2 lenders, which account for under 1% of total banking system assets, are projected to reach the minimum regulatory capital requirements. Overall, it said the results of the stress test affirm that banks can withstand significant macroeconomic and financial shocks and are well positioned to sustain lending to businesses and households. On the key interest rate, the central bank said it is treading cautiously to avoid overshooting or undershooting on its delivery of the overnight policy rate at its next monetary policy meeting. BNM Governor Tan Sri Nur Samsia Muhammad Yunus said at a briefing today that the aim is to strike a delicate balancing act to ultimately achieve both price stability and growth. She said the central bank expects both headline and core inflation to average between 2.8% and 3.8% in 2023. The Malaysian Medical Association says Putrajaya may have to be open to the possibility of allowing other providers to supply and distribute medicines in the public health sector, as it has proved too risky to depend on a single provider. Its president, Dr. Muruga Raj Rajaturai, said this would take time to implement and that in the meantime, urgent steps are needed to secure an ample supply of medicines for public health care. MAA also urged the government to take Pharmaniaga's financial problems more seriously, as the situation may have a significant impact on Malaysia's supply of public health medicines. Muruga warns that if Pharmaniaga's issues are prolonged, its suppliers may be left with no other option but to reduce or stop supplying to the PN17 firm, as they too may start running into losses if outstanding payments are not settled. This would have an impact on the country's supply of essential medicines needed to treat emergency and acute cases. It is worth noting that Pharmaniaga was granted a concession agreement to supply public health facilities with medicines and medical supplies by the Ministry of Health that is slated to expire in June this year. When asked for comment, Pharmaniaga spokesperson said the company will issue a statement tomorrow. The Health Ministry, meanwhile, was unable to comment at this juncture. A director of a construction company for an MRT line project pleaded not guilty to 2 charges of giving bribes amounting to more than 650,000 Sing dollars or 2.158 million ringgit and 1 charge of money laundering amounting to 4.13 million, Bernama reports. G. Paismanathan was charged in the Shah Alam Sessions Court with giving bribes to the CEO of MRT Corp through an individual as an inducement to ensure that Kolas Rail System Engineering, which was taken over by Pestec Technology, continued the MRT Line 2 project worth more than 693 million ringgit. If convicted, he can be jailed for a maximum of 20 years and fined not less than 5 times the value of the bribe or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher. For his other charge, the 53-year-old was charged with transferring 4.13 million in proceeds from illegal activities from an account belonging to Kolas Rail System Engineering to an account belonging to Sias Holding. If convicted, he can be imprisoned for a maximum of 15 years and fined not less than 5 times the value of the proceeds of the illegal activity or 5 million, whichever is higher. He was allowed bail at 500,000 in 1 surety. The case we mentioned is on April 19th. Former investment banker Charles Chua was sentenced to 3 years jail and fined 1 million ringgit after he pleaded guilty to 1 out of 17 charges for defrauding an investor. Chua, who is formerly the vice president of debt markets at Hong Leong Investment Bank, admitted to duping a Lim Boon Bing into investing in a sham QSR IPO and promised him returns on his investment of 8.5% for the first month and 10% for the subsequent months. This caused the investor to lose 175,000 in 2018. In meting out the sentence, Sessions Court Judge Kamaruddin Kamsun, with the consent of the prosecutor and the accused, took into consideration the 16 outstanding charges pursuant to Section 171A of the Criminal Procedure Code, passing a sentence which reflects the offending behaviour in its entirety. This means Chua has no more outstanding charges with the courts. He previously claimed trial to the other charges last June. In all 17 charges, he told his victims that they were investing in investment schemes involving the subscription of securities, none of which existed, costing them 1.73 million in losses. If Chua fails to pay his fine, he faces an additional 12 months in jail. Low-tech Jho has reportedly been sentenced in absentia to 10 years in jail by a Kuwaiti court on money laundering charges. According to Kuwaiti newspaper Al-Kabas, a sheikh, his partner and a foreign national were also handed 10-year prison sentences, while a lawyer was sentenced to 7 years in jail on money laundering charges in relation to a Malaysian fund. They were reportedly ordered to return $1 billion or 4.4 billion ringgit and fined 145 million Kuwaiti dinars or 2.1 billion ringgit. The Kuwaiti public prosecution charged the defendants as an organised criminal group which laundered 343.7 million Kuwaiti dinars or 4.9 billion ringgit, knowing that it was embezzled from a Malaysian sovereign wealth fund. It did not name the fund in question, but Sarawak Report said it was 1MDB and named the sheikh as Sheikh Sabah Jaber Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, his business partner as Hamad Al-Wazan, and the foreigner as Syrian-French businessman Bachar Kiwan. The Vibes named the lawyer as Saud Abdel Mohsan.